Hello there. Hey, what's up, mortals? It is Shara Zor-El here with a new video for you. Welcome to Season 2, Part 4 of What If the Big Three Were in 1A. I just wanted to greet you guys by saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So, we begin. Okay. Deep breaths. Calm down. You're fine. Tamaki Yamajiki looked at himself in the mirror. He looked awful. He was pale and had dark circles under his eyes. After his fight with Kirishima, Tamaki had gone back to the bleachers and watched Murio's fight. Murio had won, and Tamaki had celebrated with him and Nejire, but as soon as they sat back down, he had excused himself to go to the bathroom, which is where he still was 15 minutes later. He took a couple of breaths and tried to splash water on his face. His hands were shaking really bad. Suddenly, the door to the bathroom flung open. Tamaki jumped. "Oh, sorry, man. Didn't mean to startle you," Kirishima said. Tamaki put a hand to his chest. "It's fine," he said, his voice an octave higher than usual. Kirishima slapped him on the back. "I wanted to congratulate you again on winning our match." His voice held no regret or jealousy, only sincerity. "I noticed that you left and were taking a long time getting back, so I figured I'd check on you. Hope that's okay." Tamaki was stunned. Kirishima had actually noticed his absence? And he was concerned? Well, thanks," Tamaki said. I'm okay, I think. Just need to relax before my next match." Kirishima nodded. "Yeah, you're up against Bakugo, right? That'll be intense." "No kidding," Tamaki thought. In his previous match, Bakugo had beaten Uraraka. Though she had tried her hardest, she just couldn't outmatch him. In the end, she had passed out from exhaustion, and Bakugo had won. With that image fresh in his mind, Tamaki definitely wasn't looking forward to facing him down. Excuse me." Tamaki darted past Kirishima and made it to a toilet just in time to lose his lunch. "Dude, you sure you can compete in this condition?" Kirishima asked. "Believe me, I wish I could just forfeit," Tamaki answered. "But Mirio would never let me hear the end of it, and Nejire would be peppering me with questions about it." Kirishima handed him a paper towel to wipe his mouth with. "Boy, I really admire how much you care about your friends. You're willing to put up with all of this just to make them proud." He sniffled. "It's so manly." "I don't know about that," Tamaki said. "I'm just too much of a coward to look them in the eyes if I give up. I know they'd be disappointed in me." Kirishima shrugged, then patted Tamaki on the back. "Something tells me that they'd never be disappointed in you." He pointed to the door. "What do you say we go back to watch the others compete?" Sure," Tamaki answered. When they walked back to the bleachers, the next match was already underway. It was Todoroki versus Midoriya, aka Shoto! Sorry, I had to. I could not resist. Blasts of ice were propelled across the arena, which made it hard for Tamaki to walk to his seat. Combine that with the shards of ice flying through the air, and it was downright dangerous to be a spectator. "What's going on?" Kirishima yelled over the noise of the battle and the roar of the crowd. "Todoroki and Midoriya have been going at it for a while," Murio answered. "Todoroki is using his ice to try and drive Midoriya back, while Midoriya uses blasts of air to defend. It's awesome!" Awesome wasn't the word Tamaki would use. Both the boys looked exhausted, and it seemed like Midoriya was actively injuring himself by using his quirk. Todoroki's entire right side was coated with frost. How long could they keep this up? As the audience held their breath, Midoriya yelled something out to Todoroki. Whatever he said got Todoroki fired up. Literally. Flames started bursting from his left side. Tamaki had never seen him use his second quirk. Todoroki always preferred using the ice power on the right side of his body. A blast of heat reached all the way up to the stands as Todoroki unleashed his true power. Tamaki reeled back. This was insane! Someone was going to get seriously hurt. Midoriya and Todoroki's powers collided. When the dust settled, Todoroki was left standing, while Midoriya had been blown out of the ring. Instead of celebrating or basking in his victory, Todoroki just stood in shock. He was breathing heavily. Then, calmly, he left the ring as helpers came over to take Midoriya to the nurse's office. "Whoa!" Nejire said. "Our classmates are amazing!" Murio, Tamaki, and Kirishima nodded, not being able to speak. Nejire stood up and stretched. "Well, looks like I'm going to be up next. Wish me luck!" Good luck, Tamaki said. Go get him! Kirishima cheered. You got this, Mirio said, patting her on the back. Nejire waved and jogged down the stairs. There was going to be a small pause in the schedule so the arena could get prepared. It only took about 15 minutes, but during that time, Tamaki started biting his nails. This nervousness was too much! He was worried about how Nejire would do. His own battle was right after hers, so he hoped he could concentrate enough to cheer her on. Just worry about being there for your friend, he reminded himself. You could stress about your own problems later. When Nejire walked out onto the field and looked back up at the stands, he made the conscious effort to smile at her. Nejire turned back to the arena and stood facing her opponent, Ida. The match began, and right away Ida made his move. His quirk, Engine, allowed him to move at incredible speeds. Nejire was able to jump up at the last second and hover above his head. However, Ida used the momentum from springing forward to jump up. He caught her ankle and pulled her back to the ground. She tried to use her energy beams to blast Ida away, but he dodged quickly and aimed a kick at her. It would all be over if he managed to connect. Luckily, she was able to spring away in time. She was already breathing hard. How much more of this could she take? Ida obviously knew that his speed would be his greatest weapon in tiring her out. He came at her relentlessly, aiming kicks and punches. Nejire was doing a decent job of avoiding him, but it was only a matter of time until her stamina was gone. Finally, Ida landed a blow. Nejire reeled back as one of his kicks sent her flying. It was over. Tamaki sighed in disappointment. But wait! Nejire had thrust her hands behind her. Using the force of Ida's attack, she acted like she was a living slingshot, sending out energy waves to counter his force. Now that Ida had completed the kick and was in close, Nejire shot forward with incredible speed. She aimed a kick of her own at Ida's chest. Shocked, he took the impact and soared backward, right out of bounds. The entire crowd was silent, trying to process what had just happened. Mirio broke the silence. He whooped, and soon the whole stadium was shaking with cheers and yells. Let's go! Woo, 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 woo! Nejire waved at the crowd, blushing. She did a little curtsy, then exited the arena. Going over to Ida, she offered him a hand and helped him up. As they walked away together, Tamaki felt pride swell in his chest. He hadn't known Nejire for that long, but he still considered her a close friend. I hope I can be as courageous and kind as her, he thought as he left the bleachers and made his way to the entrance of the arena. His warm and happy feelings only lasted for a moment, though, before he remembered what was coming next. He gulped and shakily walked to the match stage. Get ready to die, extra! Bakugo threatened as the two of them took their places. Well, this is it, Tamaki thought. I've lived a good life. At least I tried, right? He was currently in the middle of running for his life. When the buzzer had sounded and the match began, Bakugo wasted no time in going on the attack. He let out a barrage of explosions, driving Tamaki back. Tamaki had made a shield from a shell and ran, dodging and blocking the blasts. But now, a solid 15 minutes later, all his strategy was doing was exhausting him and making Bakugo even angrier. I should have stayed home, Tamaki muttered to himself, breathing hard. He briefly glanced to the stands. Mirio, Nejire, and Kirishima were screaming his name, cheering him on. Uraraka had joined them, fresh from the nurse's office. They were all rooting for him. How could he just give up? He rolled out of the way to avoid Bakugo, then sprang back to his feet. He cried out, summoning his special move, Chimera Kraken. Bakugo seemed taken aback that Tamaki was finally going on the offensive. But then he smiled. Don't hold back, Bakugo said. It kind of sounded like a threat. With Bakugo, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a threat. The two traded attacks, getting faster and faster. Tamaki actually managed to hit Bakugo. He regretted it immediately, though, as murder flashed through Bakugo's eyes. An explosion blew Tamaki backward. His ears were ringing. Bakugo was bearing down on him. Without thinking, Tamaki swatted him aside using his tentacles. He went down hard. When he got up, there was dirt smeared across his face and cuts and scratches etching his skin. I'm sorry, Tamaki stammered. Don't you dare apologize! Bakugo yelled. He sprinted at Tamaki and hit him with blast after blast. Tamaki stumbled backwards, shielding his face. He turned around, manifested a shell, then threw it at Bakugo like a discus. Bakugo ducked, then retaliated, using his blast to shoot forward with amazing speed. He grabbed Tamaki's arm, then flipped him over, pinning him to the ground. Tamaki coughed and gasped. You give up yet? Bakugo hissed in his ear. Tamaki swallowed. No. Good, Bakugo said. He reached his hand back, ready to land the finishing blow. Tamaki braced himself, and just as Bakugo's hand came down, manifested shelled armor. The blast glanced off him, and he was able to turn around and push Bakugo off of himself. Tamaki whirled around, desperate to get a hit in, but he never got the chance. Howitzer impact! Bakugo cried. A huge explosion blew Tamaki off his feet. He went flying through the air head over heels, and then he was falling. Dizziness clouded his brain. What was up? What was down? Where was he? And suddenly, Tamaki found himself on the ground. He didn't know how long he'd been there. He stared up at the sky. Smoke drifted to the clouds above. He was dimly aware of Midnight announcing Bakugo as the winner before someone grabbed his arm and hauled him up. Dude, are you okay? Mirio asked. What happened? Tamaki said, slurring his words a bit. Well, Bakugo won, Mirio said, trying to break the news gently. There was a massive explosion. It must have been a special move he was saving. But hey, that means you were a tough opponent if you had to pull that out. I lost? Tamaki asked. Yeah, I'm sorry. Mirio patted him on the back. Tamaki looked at the ground. Oh. Hey, are you okay? Mirio asked. I mean, that was a pretty brutal attack. I sprinted down here ASAP to make sure you weren't dead. He said it as a joke, but Tamaki could see real concern in his eyes. I'm good, Tamaki replied, and it wasn't a lie. Actually, his head was clearing. Honestly, part of me is relieved. I've been stressed out all day. He and Mirio started walking back to their seats. He had to lean a bit on Mirio for support, but soon enough, he was walking fine on his own. He sank down onto his seat and breathed out a deep sigh. Sure, a part of him was sad that he lost, but the majority of his mind was flooded with relief. He didn't have to compete anymore and could just watch and cheer on his friends. Still, he wouldn't have minded winning either. No matter how much he told himself he didn't care, there would always be a bit of regret that he couldn't beat Bakugo. Tamaki! Nejire cried. She threw her arms around him and gave him a big hug. You were amazing! I'm sorry you didn't win, but, you know... She struggled to find words. You were totally cool out there! Kirishima slapped him on the back. Great job! The hard part is over now. Uraraka gave a smile and nodded. Yeah, you and I will get him next time. Tamaki found himself smiling. Maybe he wasn't such a loser after all. He had a great group of people to support him. Victory in this competition didn't matter. He glanced at where Bakugo sat alone. There was one more thing he had to do. Summoning all his courage, Tamaki walked over to Bakugo. He thrust out his hand. Congrats on the win, he said. Bakugo just sneered and stared at Tamaki. Surprisingly, though, he reached out and gave him a half-hearted handshake. And with that, Tamaki rolled around and collapsed back in his seat. What a day! But he was glad he hadn't stayed home. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I really hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, I'd like to say if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has you covered. Our We the Celestials, My Hero Academia, and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members from 16 years old to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for new members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video, so thank you all for watching and have a great day.